The following featured presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
Hey, Bryn.
Yes?
Totally tell me everything.
About what?
About tea! Welcome, everyone, to Totally Tell Me Everything About Tea for this episode. And that's not the letter T, like Sesame Street. That is tea, like what you drink. And so I just want to welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Woloski, and I have with me my best friend, Bryn McKinnon. Hello, Bryn.
Hello, Sarah. I like that you mentioned the Muppets, though, like the tea from the Muppets. Maybe we should do the Muppets sometime.
Ooh, well, that sounds like fun. I mean, we have access to a lot of Muppets on Disney Plus.
This is
right?
So true. So true. But today we're talking about tea, the drink.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we need to tell everyone what we're drinking. Because if we're not drinking tea, I don't know what's up. So what are you drinking?
I am drinking peach herbal tea. It's just bagged tea. But it's actually pretty good. I think it's Bigelow. I should go get the box. And it has a little bit of honey in it. And it's in a new cup that I got that I'll talk about later.
Yes, a new vessel. I love it.
What are you drinking, Sarah?
So I am drinking some brewed green tea, but it's iced. So I brewed it, and then I put it in my fridge, and then I added honey. Well, it was hot, of course, because honey doesn't disperse unless it's a hot beverage. And then I brewed it, and now I'm drinking it. And I think the long process of making it makes me appreciate it even more.
Oh, heck yeah. It looks delicious. I love that you made brewed green iced tea. Delish.
Yes. Yay. But it has to have the honey, because otherwise it's a little bit on the grassy side, right?
That is so true. Yes. Yes. I don't always like honey in my tea, but I definitely like an iced tea with some honey in it. It's pretty good.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And actually, so anyone who's listening, we want to know what you're drinking. So please, we are on Instagram at Totally Tell Me Everything, and we want to know. So comment on one of our latest posts. What are you drinking today as you're listening? So for each episode of Totally Tell Me Everything, we have 3 questions for each other. We have one question that we ask each other, and it's kind of about our history with whatever we're talking about. Then we have one thing that we want to learn about or do a deep dive on. And then we have one thing that we're excited about. So these questions are all about tea for this episode. So let's get into our first question here. What is it about tea that you are into? So I think, Bryn, we have a couple things each, right? So maybe we'll go a little back and forth. Let's start with you.
All right. So what I like the most about tea is the ritual of it. You know, you have to heat the water, and you have to either put the leaves into the pot or a container of some sort, or you take the bag out of its container and you put it. There's all this sort of ritual sort of around it. And not just even the ritual of making it. And it doesn't have to be some sort of high ritual, like some sort of elevated, like, you know, artistic ritual or whatever, but it's I'm going to heat the water. I'm going to put however I'm making my tea into the cup or into the pot. And then you pour it and you have to wait. And then you sit and enjoy your tea. And again, I always talk to my husband about these episodes before we're recording because that's what I do. And Elon is a tea drinker. He stopped coffee a few years ago, so he only drinks tea for his caffeine. And so he said, and I think I totally agree with him, and it's beautiful, tea is a moment.
Nice.
Tea is a respite in your day. It's a moment of quiet and mindfulness and contemplation, or it's just resting and not doing. All you're doing is you're drinking your tea. And he said, like, you have to stop and drink the tea because it will get cold and then that's not pleasant. I guess it's the same with coffee, but he's drinking tea these days. So I love that. It's a way to warm your body from the inside. It's calming. I love that. And I used to be a bigger tea drinker in the past. Mm-hmm. I've kind of fallen out of that recently in the past several years. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. Anyway, preparing for this episode has made me dive back into drinking the tea. So that's my first one. So Sarah, I pass it to you. What is it about tea for you?
Okay, so I can definitely agree with how tea is like a moment. It makes you stop. It's like you have to have patience to drink tea because it takes patience to make tea, right?
Yes.
And so I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what you said, but turn it around on its head. So now my first, I can't really remember when I had my first cup of tea, but I do remember that I got all tickled the first time I watched Star Trek Next Generation and I heard Captain Picard say,
"Tea Earl Grey hot."
Tea Earl Grey hot. And I was like, oh, yes. What is this? This sounds awesome. And Captain Picard is drinking it. So now I want to drink it. And so from then on, tea for me felt special or like something that connected me to fandom, really, to the captain, right?
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
A little bit of that. And I tried tea. I started out with herbal tea probably as a teenager because that is a little more a way to get into it. And when I actually tried Earl Grey, I didn't really like it that much, especially on its own, because when you drink herbal tea, you don't drink milk and sugar with it necessarily, right?
Yeah, in peppermint tea, I've put milk in before and sugar, but most herbal teas, I'll put honey in, but no milk.
Right. So I was never used to doing that. So with Earl Grey, it's really more like coffee. You have to put the milk in. You have to put some sugar or something. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of didn't like Earl Grey and I was kind of sad.
Earl Grey is a very strong flavored tea. The bergamot that gets added to it is a very strong, refined sort of flavor. So I'm not surprised that you weren't like, "Ooh, this is perfect." Right off the bat.
Yeah, it's very strong. There is a tea called Lady Grey, which I like better. And I'm sure it's flavored with something else that's like an oil of something. I don't know. But and then there's also in response to the fact that you have to wait and you have to brew your tea. Well, now whenever I push on my Keurig, the brew button, whether it's for tea or coffee, I always kind of think or say, "Tea Earl Grey hot." And it's like my own personal replicator, and I love it.
That's hilarious. So the first time I had heard tea Earl Grey hot was because of you, because I haven't watched that show. And so I looked it up and then I realized, oh my gosh, he's getting it from the machine. I love that. So he's telling the machine what he wants. I love it. It's so cute.
Yeah.
And it's the same order every time, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's great. He's into rituals too. So that's his ritual. My ritual is pushing the Keurig button, and your ritual is making the tea all the way, which I have too.
To be fair, mostly I use bagged tea. Occasionally I'll use loose tea, but the bag is much easier for me. I did just look up what Lady Grey tea is.
Ooh.
Lady Grey. It's black tea with orange peel, lemon peel, and then other citrus flavors, depending on where you get it. So
no wonder I like that better.
Yeah, that sounds
I'm definitely
very nice.
A citrus person.
Same.
Cool. All right, Bryn. So what is your second thing?
All right. So my second batch of things I like, or what it is about tea that I like, mostly is herbal teas. So unlike you, I started with black teas.
Oh.
as a kid, kind of. My mom gave us black tea, not late in the day or anything, but we'd have tea in the morning sometimes, and it was always with milk and sugar, or not always, I guess, but mostly with milk and sugar. But then I eventually stopped drinking caffeine. I try to avoid caffeine now. So I really moved toward herbal teas or tisane, I think is what they.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to get into this a little bit later.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Then I won't, I know nothing about it other than I hate trying to pronounce that word.
Okay.
But so herbal teas, and when I really got into herbal teas was sort of just after college, and I loved just the loose tea sort of lifestyle, which now I find inconvenient.
It's fancy.
It is fancy, and you have to have like little tools and things.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, and it does taste quite nice. Like it's a lovely experience. So herbal teas pretty much, but I like decaffeinated black teas now when I'm in the mood for that, because it has those tannins, that sort of mouth feel and all that stuff that I like from when I was a kid.
I would say it's a heavier flavor, the black tea.
That is an excellent way to put it. Yep. It's very hard to get a heavy flavor with an herbal tea.
Yes. Absolutely.
But I really like iced tea, mostly herbal. That's been my latest sort of thing, is making iced tea. So I'm stoked that you made some iced green tea, because that would be right up my alley.
Do you ever put like fruits or something in the iced tea? Like let it kind of simmer with strawberry or something like that?
I haven't. That's a really good idea. I've done that with like spa water type stuff. What's really good, just a spa water tangent here, any kind of berries, and then also we'll grab some rosemary from the yard.
Ooh.
And sliced lemons and sliced cucumber. The rosemary adds such a lovely burst to it. And then with the fruits, it's fantastic. I love it. In fact, we haven't made any spa water in a while, and I'm sure the kids would love some. I should do that tomorrow.
Excellent. Wow. I got to try that.
So good. Rosemary, fantastic. And thyme, if you have like thyme, the herb, that's really, that's really good in it too. And then the other thing that I've been playing around with is flavored simple syrups. So I have like culinary lavender, or I've done it with cloves. I've done it with all sorts of other things. And it's kind of like a cocktail simple syrup, if we were going to make a simple syrup to put in a mixed drink, but you can flavor it with all sorts of things. And so like lavender is very, very delicious in certain iced teas. I guess you could use it in hot tea also, but I haven't. I've been really enjoying adding flavored simple syrups to iced tea. That's really fun. Also lemonade.
Ooh.
Lemonade. Yeah. Lemonade,
yes.
Simple syrup, and herbal tea all together in an iced glass. So good.
That's like Arnold Palmer kind of a thing. That sounds really
good. Right. Yes. And with green tea too, instead of with the black tea. It's really good.
Nice.
So that's my second giant group of things. Back to you, Sarah.
I love it. Okay. So I am into British high tea.
Ooh.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you know, have you ever gone around LA to the different tea houses, tea rooms?
I have done a tiny bit of that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I got into this when I was living in LA, just out of college, and my girlfriends and I would go out about once a month, and we tried different tea rooms around LA. And we'd go to like the Chato Tea Room in Pasadena. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. So I never knew about the one in Pasadena. I knew about the one in West LA. But yeah, it's supposed to be great. I never went.
Yeah, and also the Huntington in Pasadena, which is a big like botanical garden. They have like
a museum too. Yeah,
yeah, that too. They have a tea. There's this awesome tea cottage up in the valley. In Orange County, there's like McKenna's Tea Cottage. Like there's all these different places, and we went to a bunch of them, and it was such a fun and exciting thing because the tea rooms and employees, well, the tea rooms, first of all, are all decorated, all cute, and usually you get to choose your teacup, and sometimes you like even get to choose like a hat or something. I mean, probably not anymore, right? But like you did.
Wow, choosing a hat. Your tea comes with a hat. That's so fun. That's like when there was a B&B we stayed at a long time ago, a million years ago, and you could like check out a cat for your room if you wanted.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I just loved how everyone made a big deal about it. Like the employees, us, like there was always a baby shower or a wedding shower going on, and it was awesome. And so when Richard and I went to London for our honeymoon, like one of my big goals was to have high tea at Harrods of London because, I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
And so we did. And it was like totally boring because they weren't making a big deal of it. It was just a run of the mill thing. It was like afternoon tea. And I come to learn that actually British afternoon tea and high tea actually are different, and we shouldn't be calling it high tea. So traditionally, afternoon tea in Britain, the upper classes would serve low or afternoon tea around 4 p.m. And it's kind of stems from the early 19th century when the aristocracy of England kind of consisted of 2 meals per day. They had like a late breakfast and a very late dinner. And so they would have this afternoon tea on low chairs, like to kind of chill, have some tea cakes, get some, so they can hold themselves. Yeah. So they hold themselves till dinner. Right. But then the middle and lower classes, when they would work all day, right? In the mills or whatever. And they would have a high tea later in the day at like 5 or 6, which was really more of a dinner, because it would include, like hot food as well. Yeah. And it would be served at the high back chair tables, high tables. Oh. So that was called high tea, which is really funny.
That we flipped it here in the US. That's so funny. Typical. Just make it our own thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of funny how that was a bit of a letdown at Harrods of London.
Oh, but it's an authentic experience.
Exactly. It was. And so the tea, I'd rather go have some British afternoon tea in LA with you, Bryn.
Oh, we so should. What? Oh, after I get my vaccines and stuff. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yay.
The only place in LA I feel like, I guess I went one place in Pasadena for a couple of years. Some of the moms and the girls that my 15-year-old went to elementary school with, we have a yearly tradition of doing a Christmas tea together. And it's been like 9 years or something we've been doing it. It's so fun and sweet. And so we started in Pasadena. I forget. It's like at a hotel somewhere, which was lovely and very fancy. But then we moved to the Culver Hotel, which is in Culver City. Wow. That is actually the hotel where the Munchkins lived. The actors and actresses who played the Munchkins in the Wizard of Oz, they lived there during the filming of the film. Wow. And that's the, I know you and Richard have talked about Under the Rainbow, the movie Under the Rainbow. So that's the hotel where they lived for when all the shenanigans happened. I know the movie is very fictionalized and ridiculous, but anyway, they did all live together in that hotel. But so nice. The first floor of the hotel is a restaurant and bar, I guess, and they have tea. You can get tea, like the meal. And so I've been to a few Christmas teas there, which has been really nice. And then we also, when the Downton Abbey film came out a few years ago, there's a movie theater right across from the hotel. So I went with my mom and my brother and my daughter. We saw the movie and then we walked over. We had tea reservations at the Culver Hotel, which was quite fun.
That's awesome. Did it come like as a package deal, or you just kind of did that yourselves?
We just made it ourselves, a little package deal. But yeah.
That's awesome.
It was fortuitous. Yeah. So that was really fun. But yes, let's go do tea after I've gotten my vaccinations.
Okay. Well, that actually sounds like my best tea experience that I've had. And I'll just go into that real quick before we get into our next question here.
Great.
But this was in 2004, and the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. It's interesting that you mentioned tea in a movie, because this is what we did at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. And this theater, is owned by Disney, and often for movie openings, they will premiere the movie there, and then they'll have special events that coincide with the film, and you can buy, a higher ticket price and like do both things, like immediately one after the other. Yeah. So like for Toy Story 3, they had like this whole carnival set up behind the theater that you went to after the film. It was amazing. And for animated films, they often have like a character show up and do like 10-minute show before. Well, for Princess Diaries 2 in 2004,
gosh,
you saw the movie, and then you could have Disney princess tea with the princesses. And I was like, Okay, at this point, I'm like 23 years old, but I'm like, dude, I am doing this.
Yes.
This is amazing. So the theater rented out like ballrooms in the upper floors of Hollywood and Highland for this afternoon tea and for a seating. And so after the movie, everyone was escorted over. Oh, and I do have to say my mom was in town. So we made this mother-daughter event of it.
Perfect. That's so perfect. I was just going to ask you, did you go by yourself or did you take someone? That's wonderful.
No, I took my mom and a couple of friends as well. But my mom was like, it was really a mother-daughter thing. Like that's who I remember most, sharing it with.
Yeah.
So after the film, we were all escorted across the street, across Hollywood Boulevard and up the stairs into this ballroom space with like round tables that were all set. There's like 10 seats to a table, those typical rounds.
Sure.
And in the middle were those traditional tea service 3-tiered things with
the trays. Yeah.
Yes, with all the typical things for tea, like your cucumber sandwiches. They had peanut butter and jelly little finger sandwiches for the kids,
Cute.
They had this. But what was cool about it, I mean, that was awesome in itself, just to have tea. And like they had like these, what are they called? Like wooden boxes with all the tea that you could pick out.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. And you could brew it by the cup at this point. Yeah. Because it was kind of a serve yourself kind of a thing. But one of the cool things was all the walls and the columns of this place were costumes and photos and paintings from the film. So like the actual painting of her, like or they have paintings in the film of like Queen Clarice and her husband and like all the previous queens and kings of Genovia. And so they were all hanging in there.
Wow, that's fun.
It was amazing. And the costumes were there too. Like her cute little dress that she falls in the water in after she gets kissed by Mr. Chris Pine. Anyway.
Just some guy named Chris Pine.
Yeah, just him. Anyway, but it was so much fun. And then also, I think there was 7 princesses that walked around to your table so you could take pictures with them.
Wow.
I know. It was so much fun.
That's what a full, like, robust experience.
It was amazing. And even they had Ariel there, but she was in her grotto. So you actually had to go up to her. She was on her seashell.
I like her with her tail.
Yes. And I do have to say, at that point, I was not blogging. So I don't know where these pictures are because I'm sure we took pictures. But I have to thank Mouse Planet because I found a blog from Mouse Planet. Wasn't the best pictures, but you can kind of get an idea of what the ballroom was like and like the table seatings and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm going to link that, or Bryn, you're going to link that in our show notes.
I sure am. Show notes-a-rama.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that best tea experience. Because it was so unexpected. Because, it's like Disney princess tea. I don't know what this is going to be. And it was like this big giant ballroom thing. So it was amazing.
Plus, and all the film elements too. That's really, how well done. That's so cool.
Yeah. It was awesome.
It'd be fun to be the people who got to put those things together, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it'd be very hectic, but I think it could be really fun. The creative part of figuring out like, what should we do and how can we make it special?
Right. And I think, well, they obviously couldn't do that in the past couple years, like the past year, El Capitan.
Right. Absolutely.
But you can tell there's creative people involved there because they've had these package deals like all this past year with COVID, like come and take home your, what is that? Concessions, like concession take home things.
Oh, yes. That's really clever. And
yeah.
This has nothing to do with tea, and we can cut this out if we want to, but I had a very interesting experience in that same area with watch a film and then have an event happen afterward. It was Rock of Ages? Is that what it's called? Let me just look it up really fast because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Okay.
It was a terrible film. Yeah. Okay. So it was for Rock of Ages, which was in 2012. Because I work in the automotive industry, we got an invitation to an event because I think Cadillac or one of the automakers was involved with the film. And so there was a screening of the film like before it was being released, and actors were there and directors and stuff. And my friend was designated as the person who would go to watch the movie and then cover it in a story on our website. And so he had a +1. And so he asked me to go along with him. So I was like, sure. And so we dressed all 80s, because Rock of Ages is like, it's like hard rock music and kind of 80s era, I think. And so I dressed all wild and like 80s glam, which was really fun. And then, so we watched the film. It was not very good. But then they walked us over. Oh, and it might have been at the El Capitan. It was either at the El Capitan or it was at the movie theater across the street from the El Capitan. Anyway, they walked us over across the street from wherever the film was to the back of another theater behind. There was like a big parking lot or something. And they had turned it into a rock concert where I believe it was Poison and Def Leppard did a concert for us.
Whoa!
And it was
oh my gosh,
insane. I did not ever see them live in concert before, and I couldn't believe that I knew every single word to every single song, which is hilarious. Some of the producers were near us in the crowd, and all of a sudden, like, someone came up and was delivering a platter of In-N-Out burgers to them. I guess they had ordered this special or something. And this was before like there were food delivery services the way that we have them now. Anyway, it was the most fun. And I guess that was the kickoff for a tour that Poison and Def Leppard were starting for that year. So it was like this fortuitous thing, but it was so very, very fun.
Oh my gosh. So you must have seen the movie at the Mann's Chinese Theater, because directly across the street is the El Capitan, and right behind that is a big, like, giant parking lot that they changed into that Toy Story 3 carnival and now a rock concert. Like, they changed that into a bunch of stuff.
Got it. So I'm glad that you know, because that's where it was. It was really fun.
A lot of cool things happen on Hollywood Boulevard. It's just murder trying to get there. And park.
It's a nightmare, depending. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, now it's time to learn about tea.
Yay!
I hope you brought your A game, Bryn, because I got a lot.
I don't know. I might have brought my Z game, but I'm definitely here for your A game.
Okay. Well, should I start?
I think you should start.
So, because I have two things. Basically, I just couldn't stop at one, because I really wanted to know, where does tea come from and why are there different types? Like, we have the oolong, green, black, and white. And then I also wanted to learn more about British afternoon tea, because I've just had such fun experiences with it.
I welcome your deep dives, and I can't wait to learn.
Perfect. Okay. So I will first do then, where does tea come from? And then maybe we'll go into your dive, and then we'll finish off with British afternoon tea and the history of where this began. Does that sound good?
I love it. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So I learned so much yesterday. I was so excited. Okay. So I looked at a book called History of Tea, The Life and Times of the World's Favorite Beverage by Laura C. Martin. And I feel that whenever you have to say something about tea, you just have to speak in an English accent, a faux English accent that isn't very good. Does that sound good?
Quite. I love it.
Okay. Well, okay, so this blew my mind. All tea comes from one plant, no matter the type.
Oh.
Now, you may be thinking, herbal teas, where does this come in? That is different, and I will tell you a little later why.
Yes.
Okay. So there's this single species of plant called Camellia sinensis, and it's this evergreen shrub that has small white aromatic flowers. And the leaves and the buds of this plant create tea when it's processed correctly.
Huh.
And you can find this plant in like China and Japan and the foothills of the Andes and the foothills of the Himalayas. And then it's been transplanted in various locations around the globe, but those are some of the first sightings of this tea plant. And what's interesting about this processing, it's the processing itself that creates different types. So if you just pluck the leaves off this plant, throw them in boiling water, you just get this bitter beverage. It's not good, right?
Okay. I won't do that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, don't do that. So, and I thought this is fascinating. Like this processing that they do is not very involved, but what it does to like the inside of the leaf, like chemically, like chemistry of it makes it sweeter.
Oh.
So step 1, there's 5 steps. Step 1 is withering. So the leaves and the buds that were plucked are softened on large racks in a heated room, or they just air dry in the sun. And that is when the starch in the leaf begins to convert to sugar. And therefore you're already getting a little sweeter, right? And the moisture content drops. And so white tea is born of just this step 1 process. And it uses mostly the white buds of the plant and maybe a leaf or two, but it's mostly the buds that create white tea, which makes sense because this is a white flower, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So then step 2 is rolling. So the leaves are now soft and pliant enough, and so they can then be rolled. And the act of rolling these leaves all together, it twists and crushes the leaves and releases that sap, right? So all of a sudden you're getting more flavor, and it stimulates the fermentation, which is kind of, I mean, if you think about wine and stuff, it's what's adding kind of those different flavoring to it.
Yeah.
So at that point, this is when green tea is born, because after the rolling, it's immediately heated and dried, and it doesn't go on to the next step, which is oxidation. So it's called green tea because at this point, the leaves are still green. They haven't changed color. Now, oxidation, this is where the leaves change color. This is where flavor and value are determined of your traditional like black tea. And so what happens is these rolled leaves that have been released of some of their sap and stuff, they are placed on trays all together, like at this thickness of like 1 to 2 inches. So think like a brownie mixture that you put before you put it in the oven, right? You like kind of lay it in. It's kind of this gooey like thickness.
Sure. Okay.
So you think about these rolled leaves are just kind of like in this kind of a roll, and they're laid in trays as a kind of a thick mat. And then they're left in a cool, damp place, and they oxidize for 1 to 3 hours. And what this means is it's basically causing this chemical reaction, which heats the leaves. So you're not putting a heater on it themselves, but the process of this oxidation like heats the leaves themselves, the chemical reaction. Isn't that cool?
So that them just being together in a pile in the tray creates the heat that oxidizes the leaves and does what needs to happen.
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool. Way to go, tea leaves, doing your own thing,
Right?
making it good for us.
And then this is where you have to watch them, because if the temperature gets too high, the leaves taste burned. And too low, like you take them out too soon, you have this metallic aftertaste. So it has to be just right, like Goldilocks. And the leaves then are turned from green to copper during this oxidation process.
Ooh, I like the color changes. This is fun.
Yes. So then this is where you get, so oolong tea and black tea come from this process. So oolong tea is only partially oxidized to about 60%, and then it goes on to the drying stage, whereas black tea oxidizes all the way, I guess 100%, but not to over 100%, otherwise you get that burnt flavor, right?
Oh.
And then both of these types of tea go on to the 4th phase, which is drying. So the leaves that are now oxidized are dried with hot air on a conveyor belt, and this immediately stops any kind of fermentation process and then turns these leaves to their characteristic dark brown or black that you see.
Okay.
Yeah. So therefore you see black tea. It all kind of makes sense once you like go through the process. It's like green tea, white tea, oolong, not really, but then black tea. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And then so step 5 would be grading and sorting. And so this is where you get like quality tea versus kind of the quick brewing, like, tea bag stuff. And so the leaves, they've been rolled, they've been whatever, but some of them are different sizes because, you get like kind of tea dust almost, like the stuff that's, sloughs off fastest. And so what you have is whole leaf tea produces the finest quality tea. And then you get all the way down to dust, which is kind of used for the quick brewing tea bags that, are sold cheaper.
That I'm using so often.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was really, really cool.
It is really cool. Nice work.
Thank you. I just loved learning about that. And then as an addendum to that, we were talking about herbal teas, how we really like those. And then have you heard of rooibos tea?
I have, yes.
Yeah, me too. I really like it. And yerba mate.
Yerba mate? Yerba mate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these teas do not come from the Camellia sinensis, which is that the tea plant. And in fact, we should not be calling them tea at all.
Right.
We should be calling them tisanes, which is a medicinal drink or infusion. That's what that means.
I am having a tisane of peach.
There you go.
Ta-da.
Yeah, so like chamomile tea, you take the chamomile tea leaves, and you basically put them with the hot water, and there's your tisane of chamomile.
Yes.
But we don't care. We call it tea anyway.
Whatever. You're putting leaves in a hot water. It's
Yeah.
not really tea. Whatever.
So all I have to say is I want Mr. Rogers to go visit a tea place, and I want to see what this all looks like. Right?
Oh, yeah. That would be nice.
I know. I loved how when he visited places and we got to learn how stuff is made.
He did such a good job.
He did. All right. Well, there you go. There is your how to make tea.
I love it. Where does tea come from? Sarah told us.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Okay, my turn for my dipping my toe. If you dove deep in, I just dipped my toe. But so the thing that I was wondering when I was thinking about tea, what do I want to learn about? What am I curious about? Well, I was an 80s kid, and I don't know if 90s kids or 70s kids probably did this too. My mom made sun tea.
Now, I don't know what this is. I've heard of it.
Ooh, okay. Excellent. Okay. So sun tea is when an adult has a big glass jar and a bunch of tea bags, and they put the tea bags in the jar. They fill it with water from the kitchen, and then they lug it outside somewhere. They put the lid on it, and they put it in the sun, and they leave it there for several hours.
I have heard of this.
Okay. And the heat from the sun somehow heats the water up a little enough that it makes tea, and you use it as iced tea. So once it's been out there and it's the right color or whatever, you bring it in and you put it in with ice and whatever you want to put in it, like lemon or sugar or honey or whatever. And then you drink it, and that's your iced tea, which seems, wow, how efficient. Isn't that a great idea?
Right. Set it and forget it, right?
Exactly. Let the sun do the work. And it feels very summery. You look out the window and you see somewhere on your patio or on the deck or on your, wherever it is you see your tea brewing. Isn't that fun? And my mom had this very 70s, 80s jar that had like, I don't know, painted slices of oranges on the sides or something. It was very like summer feeling.
Yes.
Okay. So, but I had heard as an adult that sun tea is not safe.
Uh-oh.
To drink.
Are you messed up, Bryn? Because you drank a lot of sun tea.
Is that the problem? That's the source of all of these problems? So I decided to finally look up, was it safe? Was it okay or not? So I looked a few different places, but I just decided to use Snopes as my main source.
What's Snopes?
Oh, Snopes!
Is that Snoke? Are we talking about Star Wars?
Not today. Snopes.com is SNOPES.com. It is a debunking website. It's been around for a long time. So if you if someone sends you a lot of those, oh, don't do this because this is bad, or oh, I heard this person said this terrible thing or whatever. Snopes used to be, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be a good source to find out, like, is this true or is this not true?
Okay.
Snopes says, don't do sun tea.
Uh-oh.
Because tea steeped in a jar on your porch won't get any hotter than like a really hot bath, like 130 degrees Fahrenheit at the max, apparently. And that is not nearly hot enough to kill the nasties lurking in the water or in the tea.
Oh, okay.
So likely I was drinking a lot of bacteria water. But I lived, so that's good. So
you did. Your body probably developed lots of good, crime-fighting things because of that.
I was building an immune system. So, and actually that's true. Like I let my kids eat a lot of dirt and stuff because it helps. So,
okay.
If we're too clean, we won't be healthy.
Right.
So if you're going to make tea, for any tea, although I do know that like there's different temperatures your tea should be, the water should be for different kinds of teas, right? Like black tea has to be a certain temperature, green tea should be another certain temperature. Anyway, for the water for anything to kill the nasties has to be 195 degrees for 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
So that was my very shallow deep dive. But what I will also say, and I meant to mention this earlier, is that I have fallen in love with the British way of heating tea, which is an electric kettle.
Yes.
I love our electric kettle, and I will never go back to the adorable kettle on the stove, even though they're so cute.
That is amazing. And I have a story about an electric kettle.
Hey! Yay!
So my friend Chrissy, who we were friends since 5th grade, and she moved to England. She went to like part of college in England, and then since has been living in, I think she's in France now, but she's lived in Scotland for a while. And when she was in Scotland, I went and visited her in 2002 or 2003, because that is the time to visit people or to visit around the world. If you know someone who lives somewhere around the world, just go visit them when they're there because you will never regret it. Anyway, so I went to Scotland for 10 days. It was amazing. I stayed with her and we went all around Scotland, but she had an electric tea kettle. And this is the very first time I'd seen this. And I was like, this thing is amazing because it heats and boils water in like 2.5 seconds. I mean, it is
so
like a
fast.
minute, 2 minutes. Like it's so fast. Yes.
Superior way.
When I got home from Scotland, I went out and immediately bought an electric tea kettle.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so now I have one that actually will heat to the different temperatures required.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. Except now I
Nice.
use my Keurig. Because you can just do the boiling water, like it superheats the water instead of the coffee. But I know it's bad. But anyway, yeah.
It's funny you bringing up Keurig. At my work there are Keurig machines, and there was a time when we had Bigelow's I Love Lemon herbal tisane. So, and then they also had the Celestial Seasonings Lemon Zinger pods.
Oh.
And so lemon zinger is my jam.
Yes, me too.
And so, but other people were like, no, I love lemon. And so I decided to do a showdown. And so I brewed one pod of each of them into cups. And I did a taste test. I sort of assessed them from all these different ways. And it turns out Lemon Zinger is so much better than I Love Lemon. I Love Lemon is barely even anything. And Lemon Zinger is quite delicious.
It has the zing.
It does. It has the zing. You need the zing. Actually, I like all the zingers. Raspberry zinger is good. Wild berry zinger is good. All the zingers. Bring on the zingers. More zingers.
Yes. You're making me want to get the Celestial Seasoning Zingers pods because, yeah.
Well, you should because it's delicious. And those are really good iced, too. I make a lot of lemon zinger iced tea. With a little bit of lavender simple syrup. It's good.
Good stuff. Bran, we need to be neighbors.
I know.
Would you like a spot of tea this afternoon? Oh, of course. I'll just pop over.
Why don't we live next door to each other already?
I don't know.
Yeah.
LA's so spread out.
It's very wide. It was a wide place. Okay, so I said my piece. Now it is your turn. What is our next deep dive topic?
It is British afternoon tea, the origins. are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I am, Mummy. I'm ready.
Okay, so for this one, I went to thebritishmuseum.org. The Tea-rific History of Victorian Afternoon Tea by Tasha Marks, who is a food historian.
I am laughing that they used tea-rific.
Yes, I know, so un-British, right?
Yeah, right? It seems too frivolous.
It does. Okay, so we have to thank the 7th Duchess of Bedford, Anna Maria Russell, for the invention of the afternoon tea sometime around 1840. It is not really, it might have kind of started, before then. In fact, Jane Austen has kind of had some books that have mentioned something like this, but 1840 is kind of the agreed upon time frame. So give or take 10 years, right?
Alrighty.
With
sure.
this. So basically what was happening was industrialization of England. There was increasing urbanization, there was industrialization, and then also gas lighting in England. And because of this, the evening meal was becoming later and later. So you had breakfast early in the morning, and you might have had a lunch or not, but the point was days were getting longer. People could work later because of the gas lighting, and the evening meal wasn't till 8 or 9. And in fact, with the upper class, it was usually that late, the supper, right?
Yeah.
And so the Duchess of Bedford, she was one of Queen Victoria's ladies in waiting. Well, she was having none of it. She described a sinking feeling at about 5 p.m. She became despondent between lunch and dinner, and she requested that some tea, bread and butter and cake was brought to her room in the late afternoon. And with that one request of a lady's grumbling stomach, an afternoon ritual was born.
I love it. Yes. More power to her. I don't want to have hunger. And yes, bring me cake and butter and tea and bread.
Right? And so all the ladies and, even Queen Victoria herself, they didn't really need any more prompting to be like, oh, this is a good idea,
Right? Our corsets are tight and we're hungry.
Uh-huh. So the upper classes, swept this up. It was the latest thing. And this fashionable custom soon spread across Britain, and it spread mostly with women first. And I will tell you, this is another interesting thing. One of the reasons dinner was so late was because upper class men were often meeting in coffee houses or their men's clubs, discussing politics, things, and maybe
having snacks.
Right? So this afternoon tea was a woman's invention, and also it could be considered a radical feminist act.
Yeah, don't make us wait to eat because you're over with the boys.
Exactly. Yeah, because afternoon tea really allowed women to entertain mixed company at home without their husbands. So it was pretty liberating.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also this freedom continued into the dresses they were wearing as well, because the dresses are more indoor, so they don't have to be so tied up in their bustiers and things. They could have more light flowing fabrics, kind of like we've all experienced here in this past year.
Pandemic.
With the pandemic. Where we often opt to get rid of our corsetry for the day.
And sweatpants and muumuus.
Exactly. So I love this, that afternoon tea was really a place where women took the center stage. They were able to exchange their ideas, opinions, and gossip, right? And all freely without being under the thumb of their husbands.
Nice.
Yes.
I love this.
I know. Not that the thumb of your husband is bad, but
well, I mean, I don't want to be under the thumb of anybody.
Well,
so
I guess that's true. But back then, when women couldn't own, things,
correct, anything, yes,
right.
Yes.
This was kind of a place where they could take control,
some agency, and it's a basic human need. Not being hungry. Hello.
Yes. So I love this British afternoon tea. Thank you to Anna Maria Russell, Duchess of Bedford.
Thank you, ma'am. Nicely done, Sarah.
Thank you. I loved learning about that.
That's so cool.
All right, well, that was exciting, but now I want to know what you are excited about regarding tea. Bryn, what are you excited about?
Oh, Sarah, I love the vessels that we drink it from, that we make it in, just all of the containers. I've always been really into pottery and china, and I just love the cups, holding them in your hand, the way it feels, all the different ways. Maybe it has a handle, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're holding it with both your hands around it. Maybe it's a big mug. Maybe I just love the vessels. I can remember way back when I was a kid, someone gave my brother and me some Muppet mugs. I got a Miss Piggy mug, and I know how you feel about Miss Piggy.
That's okay.
But when you were a kid in the 80s and a girl in the 80s, and really the most prominent Muppet is Miss Piggy, and she has her own story, even if it's flawed, and even if she's treated terribly, and she's written to be someone that most of the characters can't stand. But still, I had this really cute Miss Piggy mug that is her head as a mug.
Oh. Wow.
I have found some photos. I do not have the mug any longer, which is sad. But anyway, I have some photos. I'll put them in the show notes. I mean, maybe we'll post them. Actually, no. Let's post them on Instagram. I'm not going to put them in the show notes. Okay. So my Miss Piggy mug is something that I remember from way back when. I definitely drank a ton of tea in the Miss Piggy mug. And then my mom was cleaning out one of her cabinets the last few years, and she found these personalized mugs that someone, I don't know who, had made for us, my brother and me. I don't remember what his looked like, but mine was a Holly Hobby mug, and I have it with me. I'm going to show it to you. One moment while I turn to my props. All right, so here is my Holly Hobby mug.
Oh.
It's so cute. It's Holly Hobby sitting under a tree with a teddy bear, and it's like a little baby-looking Holly Hobby. Anyway, it says, "Love is being able to talk to someone." And then on the other side, it says my name in like Gothic script.
Yeah.
And so I drank a lot of tea out of this mug as well. And I think it's so sweet that my mom kept it all these years. And now I'm 48 years old. And sometimes I drink my tea out of my Holly Hobby mug.
I love that.
But then I also have just so many other cups and things. Like I want to show a little bit just because I want to. It's my show. It's our show. We can do what we want.
We got time.
So my grandmother had tons of teacups, like individual teacups and saucers that are sold separately, you know, like different designs,
Yes.
hand painted teacups. Let's say that.
Yes.
So she had tons of them, and she let all the ladies in the family pick some to have as our own. And so I have like 4 or 5 of them, which was so generous. Anyway, this one is very pretty. It is Lily of the Valley. And it's got such an interesting
like porcelain,
shape.
right?
Yes, it's a porcelain cup. It's made of china, and it's inside the cup has a painted pattern of the Lily of the Valley flowers. On the outside, there's some that has little golden feet. I'll take some pretty pictures and put these on the Instagram. And then the saucer is also painted with it, and it's like rimmed in gold. It's just so delicate and beautiful, and I love it so much. It doesn't hold much tea. None of these hold much tea, but that's fine because whatever, I'll make another cup.
Exactly. Yeah, you have your teapot, right? And then you can
Exactly.
you can keep refilling your cup. That's beautiful, by the way.
Isn't it? I just love that one. They're all the ones I have are all different. And then, but then we also, so my husband has a lot of friends who are artists, and we happen to know a lot of people who are making ceramics these days. And so our friend Tony Brown makes these lovely earthenware cups, and I have 2 right now. We have a bunch of it. I'm showing you 2. One is white and one is black, and they're thrown cups. So he throws them on a potter's wheel. Mm-hmm. And then what I love about this is that he grabs them with his thumb and his finger thumbs on the outside, fingers on the inside, and he dips them into the glaze.
Oh.
So you'll see that there's like a spot on the outside and on the inside of the cup where his finger doesn't let the glaze hit. And then he fires them that way. So it's just this like really personal, here's the black one, personal sort of touch. And they feel so good to hold. They're just this perfect, there's no handle. It's just, you hold it with your whole hand, and they're lovely. I love them.
Nice. Yeah, those
And-
remind me, what is it? Well, it's kind of like he's putting his artist mark on it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's really neat.
It's great. Every time I hold them, I'm thinking, oh, hi, Tony. Thanks for making this cup. And then my most recent acquisition is by Jen Lamb, whose business is called Unearth, and we'll put a link to her Instagram. But this is she just made this batch, and it is inspired by the ocean in California, and it's sort of coral colored, and it looks like it has little barnacles on it. And she's really good at making handles that really feel good in your hand. And so I'm stoked to have all these different beautiful things to drink out of, because it's nice to have a piece of art that is functional. I love functional art. So tea is allowing me to use the functional art that we have in our house first for nourishing myself and feeling good and making me happy.
That's amazing. I love that. I love functional things. I mean, that kind of, we're very similar that way, because I know Richard, my husband, collects things, but I like to collect things that are useful and functional. Like I love kitchen items or clothing items or makeup items, that we've talked about, because they're functional and they're just so useful. So that is beautiful that you can appreciate art and with a little bit of a tea moment.
Yes. Thank you.
I love that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So what are you excited about regarding tea?
So yes, similarly, I'm going to bring up a particular vessel.
Yay! Oh, yay.
And this is really cool because in the researching and writing of this show, I learned something about this tea set that my mom was given and that I kind of grew up with. So we have a china cabinet, or my parents had a china cabinet growing up, and it was filled with fancy things that I couldn't touch, right?
Yeah.
Or as you get older, you can touch them. You can, be very careful. Put that.
Right.
Anyway, well, one of the things in there was this tea set, and it consisted of a teapot and 4 little cups. And I think it had even a sugar dish and a creamer, like a creamer set too.
Yep.
And I just remember it because it looks like when you go into those tea shops and you see those like Asian sets of tea with the teacups that don't have handles on it, they're really small.
Yeah.
And they have the kind of the low teapot that's very squat, right?
Yes.
And it kind of looked like that. This set, I've never seen it duplicated in these tea shops. Like I've always been looking, because we chipped the pot and, it kind of broke after a time. We still have the cups. My mom still has the cups. But so first of all, I'm going to show you a picture of this set because I think you need to really see it to appreciate it. And we will also be showing this on our Instagram as well.
Oh.
So this is pretty much what it is, this teapot. And what it is, well, I won't tell you what it is yet. I'll tell you the story behind it because we never knew what it was. So my mom got married to my dad in 1972, and her sister Marilyn, which is one of her like 6 sisters. she has 11 brothers and sisters, but her sister Marilyn was living in Hawaii, and she was married to a Hawaiian at the time, and she had basically bought this gorgeous tea set as a wedding gift for my mom. And it was imported from Japan. And like I said, we'd never seen anything like it. And in doing the research for this set, like I asked my mom, do you still have that? She's like, oh yeah. And then she was like looking for pictures online so she could show me the actual teapot. And it turns out that there's a whole history behind this type of tea set. Okay, so what it is, it's a vintage 1960s Japanese somayaki double wall teapot and cups. And it comes from a particular ceramic shop that was established in Japan in 1910.
Oh,
And
wow.
I know. And the shop is called Matsunaga. And after World War II, they began exporting around the world. And it's porcelain. And what they're famous for is this double wall design. And so what happens is you have this double wall of pottery. So for one thing, it keeps the hot water hot, but at the same time you're not feeling the hot water with your hands because
Yes.
it's double walled.
Genius.
Yes. And at the same time, each of the cups and even the teapot, what they do in the first layer of the pottery is they cut out these shapes that look like hearts. And so you have like this dual layer design. It's really neat. We'll
It's
post
really
pictures on the Instagram. Right. And it also has this crack to the
The
pottery
crackle
as
glaze.
well. The crackle glaze. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what this, and it also has some, like, it almost looks like Japanese characters on it, but it's depicting this galloping horse in kind of that watercolory, wavy design that the Japanese are known for.
Yeah.
And it's called the left horse, which means it is second to none. And it's known as a sign of good luck.
Oh, that's so neat.
And the Matsunaga ceramics shop uses this left horse in like all of their pottery. And they have other things too, like plates and things, but their tea sets are really well known, apparently, like especially back in the 1960s, which I did not know about. It's really neat.
That's so cool.
Oh, but then we also learned that the heart-shaped cutouts on here, if you notice, there's like a wave design underneath them, like kind of very subtle waves, a wave pattern. And so these little cutouts are not actually hearts. They are representing plovers. And I didn't know what plovers were. Plovers, P-L. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard the word, but I could not tell you what it is.
They are a species of wading bird that are kind of squat.
Oh.
So they're like little plovers that are supposed to be wading on the water of your teapot.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Isn't that adorable?
That is adorable. Horses and birds.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so we'll post pictures of this. My mom gave me some great pictures of our tea set that we have.
Awesome.
And that's why we never found anything like it, because this is like from a special Japanese maker that I think you can still buy. Like you can find these sets like on eBay for about $75 or something.
Okay.
But other than that, like it's just really cool. And
That's awesome.
I'm just so excited that this set that I grew up with loving and drinking out of turns out to has this really cool story behind it.
That's really neat. I love that.
Yeah.
Yay, family stories.
Right.
Made better with history. I love it. Aw.
Yeah.
Yay. This makes me remember one of my connections to tea from my teen years, actually, because my mom had a tea set that was a more traditional looking British style tea set it actually looked more like a coffee pot, but it was like a big
giant pot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it had cups and saucers and little like dessert plates along with it. And it was yellow roses. It was a white background with yellow roses. And in high school, I was so cool that one of the things that I did with my friends on the weekends was ask them if they want to come over to my house after dance class on Saturdays and have tea. They were fine with it. And they actually were like, sure, we'll come and have tea.
Okay.
But I just think it's funny that like I was like 15 years old and I was like, come over and have tea. We'll make tea. But we did.
That's
and
cool. Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody would have thought it was cool then, but we did it anyway.
Well, you know what? That's like the British afternoon tea. You were a lady. You were like, let's do lady things. Let's drink tea.
Come. The men won't be back for hours.
Oh, we can gossip about all the other girls in the dance class.
So they would come over and we would have tea and we probably made like sandwiches or something. And it was fun. And actually what's hilarious is that I had not brought this up with them in years and years and years, and we haven't seen each other in years. It was, yeah, anyway. But one of my friends, Melissa, on Facebook, she said, hey, remember how we used to have those tea parties at your house on Saturdays? She was like, we were such dorks. And I was like, I know we were. But then she's like, but I really loved it. And I was like, me too. Yeah, it's funny. But then we would go to the drive-in later that night and watch movies.
Wow. Wasn't it awesome being a teenager?
It was. It was
great.
Actually.
Yeah, right? That's so cool. Aw.
Anyway.
Well, that kind of brings us to final thoughts then. Final thoughts about tea. And I know we don't have anything written for this because I kind of wanted to have this all steep. Ha ha ha.
Oh, nicely done. Yes. Well, I'm glad that, I saw that I didn't write anything down for final thoughts, and I thought, well, something will come.
So I'm actually have something brewing. I'm going to stop, I promise.
Pour me a cup of what you're thinking.
Oh my God. So I think tea is, not only does it create a moment, but it creates a memory. Like, because of that moment, because you have to pause to have tea. And I think it really helps you to really stop and smell the roses, enjoy life. Like, I have these stories of that silly British afternoon tea at Harrods, or that tea experience at the El Capitan Theater. And like, these memories are very, very solid in my mind, as do you with your memories of your high school experience. And it's just
family stuff too.
And family. Exactly. Yeah. And so it's just really cool how something can evoke those memories in that way.
It's so true. Well said. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
As I think about tea and what Elon said to me about it being a moment and being a time when you don't do other things, you just sit and be with your tea and have it. And it makes me think about episode 3 about books, and how something that I realized was that reading books was self-care. I feel like making and drinking a cup of tea is self-care also, which I haven't been doing the tea part in a while, right? So it's a reminder to me to take a moment that's not rushing from one place to the next, or run one task to the next, and spend a little time with some tea and make new memories.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am now.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And another thing that popped into my head was tea to me, it feels just very feminine. And I think it's maybe just because, I mean, my mom and I kind of would have tea together, or it's something I do with my girlfriends, or things like that. And I know, like, your husband Alon drinks tea, but like Richard doesn't really, I mean, he'll drink tea maybe to calm down, but it's not like a ritual for him. He's often doing something else while he's drinking tea, but he's often doing something else while he's doing things anyway. So he doesn't have a stop button, but like, yeah. So I don't know. Does it feel that way to you?
That it's more of a lady thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes. I mean, it's likely been passed down to us that way from
right.
The Duchess of, where was she from?
Oh, yes. Duchess Anna Duchess of Bedford.
Duchess of Bedford.
Bedford Falls, Duchess of Bedford.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
I mean, I think anything that can bring women together in a positive way is an excellent thing. So I really definitely think we need to make an appointment to go have tea somewhere together. You and I.
I do too. Okay, so I'm going to leave us with a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh.
And she has a quote about tea and women.
Right on.
Okay, here it is. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water.
Yes, thank you.
I loved that so much. I was like, wow, that is a really cool quote. Thank you, Mrs. Roosevelt.
Seriously, she was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you, Bryn.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Yay.
Love sharing our stories.
Yes, I love hearing your story. And yeah, I just love this. Thank you for doing this with me.
Of course. Well, it's not just us. We have our listeners. And
Yay!
we have our new section now, Totally Talk to Us, where we share comments from our listeners that we've been getting on social media. Our teetotalers.
Oh, God. We better do a cocktail episode soon so we don't have to be teetotalers for long.
Oh, yes. Yes, we should. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so after our episode about space, the Mars Perseverance rover had a whole watch ceremony for its landing on Mars, and we all were watching together, I think. That was so fun.
Yeah.
So the lovely Connie Shi said, I have butterflies. It's very exciting watching in real time. History! Absolutely, Connie. It was so exciting. I totally teared up like all the time.
Right? Oh, especially because I just watched Apollo 13 today, and they have that moment. Have you seen that movie lately? Or
the movie? Not lately, no, but
okay.
I loved it like years ago, yeah.
Okay, well, there's the moment upon re-entry, you like lose contact for like 3 minutes.
Right.
Re-entry into the atmosphere, and you don't know what's happening to them, right?
Right.
Well, the same thing happened with the Mars rover.
That's right.
It was like out of contact for 2 minutes, even though Mars doesn't have like, I don't know, it was out of contact for a little time. We were all like holding our breath and we knew it, like we could count where it was in the sky. Like, oh, it's going this fast and it's this close to the ground, this fast. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Right.
Yeah.
And we definitely had butterflies, Connie, with you.
Yeah, agreed. Completely. I was like on pins and needles. It was so exciting.
Yeah. I loved that. And then also I had posted some pictures of me and next to Jodie Foster from Contact, and me as a teenager replicating her look.
Yes.
And that got
so
lots
good.
of comments as well. So I want to thank David Manderville and Wanjan Jedi. And they were like, wow, great. That was cool.
It was such a great picture. You looked gorgeous and it was really fun.
Oh, thank you. And then Kelly Turkel said, loving these throwback pics. So
Sweet.
We want to thank you for totally talking to us on social media, everybody.
Yes.
And we hope you comment on our pictures now of this episode and the books episode. So I'll be posting all of those coming up.
Yes, we love to hear from you. We want to see your pictures and want to hear about what you're drinking and what books you're reading, all of that stuff.
Yes. Now, our last episode was about books, and we had asked, what are your favorite books? And we want to read a letter that we got from Brian Babcock. A letter, I should say an email. Right? And he lists his favorite books. So we wanted to read this. And we want to thank everyone who sent in their favorite books. I know my mom did. I know the Turkels did. We had some fun responses and we read them all. And we want to thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. So Brian says, your show keeps getting better and better. When I see this show download on my phone, I look forward to listening. Books were a big part of my life growing up. I couldn't help but think of which are my favorites as you read off your lists. So, number 1, Bryn, why don't you tell us which one that is?
Number 1, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. This book is so weird and so funny. The villains are so creepy with Mr. Croup and his brother, Mr. Vandermar, that they are funny.
Nice.
Cool.
That's his number 1 pick. Okay, number 2 pick is Running with the Demon by Terry Brooks. I loved his books growing up. Every time a new book came out, I had to stop by the bookstore and pick it up. Running with the Demon is a nice romantic story of magic, love, and deception. I must have read it 4 times.
Oh, that's the best when you can revisit. That's great.
Oh, I know.
And then number 3 is Battle Angel Alita by Yukito Kushiro. I know this is a graphic novel and not a book, but it's a great story. I have read the series too many times to count. For years, I would imagine it as a movie and who would play the different characters. It was upsetting to see the movie rights were sold in 2004, and every year seeing the release date get pushed back. When the movie finally came out in 2019, I had to see it the first weekend and go back a week later to see it again. Usually it's only Star Wars movies that I see twice in the theater. I was so into this story that for a time, all my online usernames were Desti Nova after the villain.
Ooh, Brian sides with the villains. Or maybe that villain. But nice, Brian. And I know you had listed off some honorable mentions and we love what you wrote to us. So thank you for sending that email in. We really appreciate
thank you, Brian.
that.
Thanks for listening and writing to us. We love it.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening to Totally Tell Me Everything. And if you want to connect with us, of course, on Instagram, you can follow us at Totally Tell Me Everything and see pictures that are associated with each show that we do. And also, we have Instagrams ourselves. So I am at Jedi Tink, Bryn.
And I am at BRYNANE.
Brynanne. And I've been saying it wrong in my head this whole time.
But you know, now that we've properly figured out how to say Tisane, it also rhymes with Tisane. I mean, it doesn't rhyme with Tisane.
Well, the last part does. It totally does.
But that's how it's spelled, yeah. Oh, my name. Anyway, I don't even know how to say it.
That's okay. Well, you can also find us in the Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook group. And if you'd like to send us an email, please write to share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And we will get those emails. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, tell us what you were drinking when you were listening to tea.
And maybe what you're drinking while you're reading the books that you are into. And we would love to hear what books those are. That's what I love about... So I love that we did books and then tea, because I think it's really nice to sit and read a book and drink some tea. That's going to be my self-care from now on.
Oh, I love it. Yay.
So, we are a part of the Skywalking Network,
Skynet,
where you can also find other great shows like Skywalking Through Neverland,
the Neverland Clubhouse,
Max Effects Podcast,
Resilient Squadron,
Sabers and Spells,
and Talking Apes. And you can also find everything going on the Skywalking Network by signing up for the Skywalking Network newsletter. And the link to that will be in our show notes. And you can also go to skywalkingthroughneverland.com and look for the menu item that says sign up for our newsletter and just click that.
It's just that easy. Ta-da.
Yay.
So come sit by us next month when we'll totally tell you everything about another fun topic. Oh, I was going to say, I love teapots that are shaped like that because you can actually make the tea easier. I mean, so I have one of those that's kind of short, but it has a strainer built in, and but it's higher, and you have to fill so much water to actually get the tea that's in the strainer, and I usually don't want to make that much tea. So I love it when it's flatter. I mean, the real people would just put the tea leaves directly into the bottom of the pot, but whatever. I'm trying to keep them a little more easy to clean. But yeah, so I love that. Okay, keep talking. So come sit by us next month when we'll totally tell you everything about another...
Ta-ta for now. TTFN. I don't know. Is there a T? Is there a T outro? Not really.
TTME. Totally Tell Me Everything.
Yeah, I say TTME when I'm talking to you and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, we're recording a TTME.
Ta-ta for now, TTME.
Oh, I love it. Well, I think it's time to have a spot of tea now and relax after our recording.
Let's do it. I'm going to make some toast, some buttered toast with my tea. Because actually, I should have said that earlier. I love buttered toast with tea.
Oh,
so yummy. I mean, buttered toast with anything really, but tea and buttered toast.
You know what I love with tea is the Girl Scout cookie shortbread.
Ooh, the trefoils.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is amazing with tea too. Shortbread and tea.
I mean, golly, any cookie with tea or cake with tea.
Yes. English cucumber sandwiches.
Like lemon scones with lemon curd and clotted cream.
That's the best. Yes. Why have we not talked about the food with tea? Oh my gosh, another episode. Maybe we should do baking next month. It all kind of rolls in.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll think about it. Okay.
We will. All right. I love you, Sarah.
I love you, Bryn.